So President Trump's viral post boycotts Ramaphosa's G20. He says neither himself nor any US official is coming. In fact, he says kick South Africa out. In this video, I'm going to show you what's going on there, and you're going to come out, if you follow me all the way to my biblical reaction, with a powerful way to think about this South Africa-America issue. Because you know, South Africa will prosper. So, press like, let's go. Let's start in 2013. AGOA was coming to an end in 2015. And Obama, in a nice way, kind of said, it's coming to an end, but we're not going to renew it if you keep using us.
The current AGOA structure expires in 2015. It is my hope that we get it renewed. Now, what I mentioned to President Zuma today, and I said this at a press conference, is that we will have to engage in some negotiations to find ways to both improve what we're currently doing, but also to reflect on the fact that South Africa is becoming more and more successful. And that U.S. businesses, in order for me to get it through Congress in the United States, U.S. businesses have to feel as if they're getting a level playing field relative to, for example, some of the European companies who are able to operate here, because there's a free trade agreement between Europe and the United States.
But 9 years ago, Obama had gotten tired and he said, I'm suspending AGOA in 60 days. And this is when he had revoked the suspension.
US President Barack Obama has revoked imminent suspension of South Africa's benefits and a US-Africa free trade deal. South Africa's inclusion under AGOA had been placed on hold in 2015 in retaliation of a ban on US beef, pork and poultry imports. Obama had placed a March 16th deadline for South Africa to ensure US chicken products on the shelves of local retailers are face removal from AGOA. The first shipment of chicken arrived in the coastal city of Durban last month, breaking a 17-year ban.
South Africa weighed its options and agreed to U.S. meat imports. Essentially, it saved several industries and thousands of jobs that were created under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which grants African countries duty-free access to the U.S. market.
So now 7 years ago, President Donald Trump came into office and he didn't play it soft. He threw some hard political punches.
President Trump says he asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to investigate land seizures and farmer killings in South Africa. The South African government is now seizing land from white farmers. He also cited the, quote, large-scale killing of farmers.
South Africa's government fired back at the president, saying it, quote, totally rejects this narrow perception, which only seeks to divide our nation and remind us of our colonial past. Well, the government went on to say it will speed up the pace of land reform in a careful and inclusive manner.
Yep, so the political punches were flying in all directions. But now under President Biden, one of the things that upset the South African government was that Biden threw a punch too by sending a warning about terrorism, which is a problem in South Africa, to his citizens around Sandton without informing the South African government.
It was quite unfortunate that the US government issued that type of warning without having had deep dive type of discussions with us. But following that, we were able to engage them and to get to understand precisely where this warning or information has come from. We are in the course of doing precisely that, because warnings such as those do send a lot of panic amongst our people.
While government has described the alert as unfortunate, Sandton Tourism Association says they have taken additional steps to ensure that security is beefed up in and around Sandton.
But then 2 years later, Biden's diplomat came out swinging with a press conference complaining about how South Africa says they're neutral, yet they keep doing things against the United States.
The government's position, and in particular, the uploading of munitions to a sanctioned Russian cargo vessel in Simonstown will be perceived in the context of that legislative requirement.
It's these words that prompted the president to launch a commission. Judge Phineas Mojapilu is now leading the investigations. Lawmakers in the United States of America also called on President Joe Biden administration not to renew Africa Growth and Opportunity Act after these allegations surfaced.
We've lost our way in multi-stakeholder power balancing and managing the relations between great powers. There was a time when having relations with China, Russia, and America actually gave us stature in the world. Why did we allow it to become a problem? Was it really worth it for a controversy over one ship and one aeroplane to bring us to a point, the inconceivable point, that 30 years later was the last time we received sanctions? Are we really back there where this country 30 years later after its settlement will again be slapped with sanctions? Man, it's inconceivable.
Oh, and that was not enough. Then the Russia-Ukraine war starts. South Africa says we are unaligned. But on the first birthday of the Russia-Ukraine war, South Africa says China and Russia, come, let's do a birthday celebration on our seas and see how mad we can make the West.
South African joint naval exercises with Russia and China have fueled domestic criticism and alarm from Western allies. On Friday, this Russian frigate, armed with a new generation of hypersonic cruise missile called the Zircon, docked in Durban. South Africa calls the drills routine, but 6 South Africa-based diplomats, all from NATO or EU countries, told Reuters they condemned them. World powers are vying for influence in Africa as global tensions deepen, as a result of both the war in Ukraine and an increasingly aggressive Chinese posture towards self-ruled Taiwan. Some African nations are refusing to take sides. South Africa, which says it maintains a neutral stance on Ukraine, abstained from voting on a UN resolution last year condemning Russia. Analysts said hosting the 10-day exercise, which coincides with the 1-year anniversary of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, is a risky strategy. South Africa's ruling African National Congress has long-standing ties to Moscow. China is now Africa's top bilateral trading partner. But the EU is by far the largest market for South African exports. Many fear Pretoria's policy could undermine its economic interests.
Yep, all along, many feared that the ANC's policy will undermine South Africa's economic interests. Then the famous "we will not be bullied" quote, which I don't need to tell you what was going on.
The president last night issuing a strong response to the United States President Donald Trump, insisting that South Africa will not be bullied and will defend its national interests and sovereignty. Ramaphosa directly addressed Trump's recent claims that certain groups in South Africa were being mistreated. This, of course, followed the president's signing of the Expropriation Act, which has sparked international debate.
This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied.
So, of course, the biggest punch that South Africa threw at the US was to take their number one ally, Israel, to The Hague, accusing them of genocide. This is how the US was talking about it.
As well as its growing relationship with countries like Russia and Iran, that's what prompted the serious review of our South Africa policy, which continues to be underway. They have taken also, the South African government, aggressive positions toward the United States and its allies, including accusing Israel not Hamas, of genocide in the International Court of Justice.
So, of course, when the ANC saw this, then they went to Iran. Iranian leaders come and meet with Nomvula Nokonyane and splash the pictures everywhere. And of course, it was a jab back. And on top of that, they decided to name Sandton Drive, where they knew the US embassy is, after someone whom the US has as a terrorist.
South Africa could end up losing its United States consulate in Johannesburg if the city goes ahead with a plan to rename one of its streets. The city has decided to rename Sandton Drive to Leila Khaled Drive, despite efforts to halt the process. The US consulate is located on this street. This is the latest development in the tensions between Washington and Pretoria over several policy disagreements last week, during which Joel Pollak, the frontrunner to become the United States ambassador to South Africa, warned that this name change could have some severe consequences. In a post on X, Pollak said that the consulate will be closed and will not be reopened. It will not be moved and it will not go to any other office. The United States will not do business with Johannesburg, ending his post with a call to close the consulate.
So recently, Donald Trump punched back by saying, I'm opening my doors to give refugee status to Afrikaner farmers who want to get out of here because they don't like BEE, expropriation, listening to Kill the Boer that's protected by the government, and feeling persecuted in South Africa. This is one of them from America.
If you're white, you're wrong in South Africa. You're a land thief. You are a racist. I'm tired of being told, just because I'm white, I'm a thief. Just because I'm white, I'm wrong in this. I had nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Is there anything specific that's happened, Charles, that made you think, I've got to get out of here? I've got to leave?
After the death rates and stuff and my machinery being cut up, and I'm still, after reporting everything to the police, not getting any protection or anything like that. The only thing that's left on my farm is a sign that says mining area. All the fences has been taken off, boom gates has been broken off.
There are voices out there, including the South African president, who has called you cowards.
Yeah.
You've got other Afrikaners who are saying that you're not refugees, you're opportunists, that you've abandoned the country. What would you say to those people?
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, which I will lose now because I'm not going to pay for it. Behind, my car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind. It is not, I didn't come here for fun, but my children are safe.
What was it like when you got off the shuttle bus and came into that hangar and were greeted by the Trump administration?
It was overwhelming. I didn't expect that because I thought we're going to be in a shuttle bus, taken somewhere, and we will start working. All of us that is there, we know we're going to start here from the bottom because we are the new people here. We're going to start from the bottom.
So Ramaphosa goes to BRICS and Trump has released tariffs. Every other country has gone and made a deal with America. He comes out of BRICS and he throws venom Trump's way.
There was also great appreciation and support for South Africa's coming G20 and in recognizing the importance of G20, that it encompasses so many countries in the world. We were wished great success and we were greatly supported. And so as we depart, many countries said, bon voyage, we will see you in November in Johannesburg. I think there needs to be greater appreciation of the emergence of various centers of power in the world, and this should be seen in a positive light rather than in a negative light. So BRICS is such a center of power, and so when a declaration, a beautiful declaration like the one that we adopted, should be seen in that it is beautiful and it is aimed at enhancing the interests of people globally. So there should never be vengeance, there should never be retribution against countries that are seeking to cooperate together and to advance the interests of humanity. There is nothing negative in the declaration, and there is everything about advancing the interests of various countries in the world, if not all, and the interests of people. So it is really disappointing that when there is such a very positive collective manifestation such as BRICS, there should be others who see it in negative light and want to punish those who participate in this. It cannot be and should not be. We should be respecting the sovereignty of countries. We should be respecting that we are all equal.
That while all this back and forth is happening with America and South Africa, and people are concerned about jobs being lost because of AGOA, people concerned about people dying of HIV because of the US aid being withdrawn, Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield went with the DA as a DA member to the US to try and negotiate all of this. And
on the 12th of February, Deputy Minister Whitfield had written to the President requesting permission to travel. 10 days later, he had not received a reply or any response whatsoever about the trip. Whitfield subsequently wrote to the President to apologize if he had caused offence. Again, he received no response. Then yesterday, months after the incident, and without a further word on it, the President unilaterally removed a DA Deputy Minister without even giving his largest coalition partner an opportunity to discuss it with the member or his party.
So the first time we've ever seen President Ramaphosa fire someone was when they went to the US. So now the G20 is close, and this is a question that was asked that shows you just how important the G20 is to Ramaphosa.
Mr. President, one of the major contributors to inequality and economic instability is corruption and failed local government. The G20 summit is being held in Johannesburg, a city that epitomizes South Africa's own inequality and economic instability at the hands of a corrupt local government run for decades by your party. Many Johannesburg residents are, to use your words, shocked to see areas such as Sandton and Nasrec and main arterial roads being fixed and upgraded as part of a beautification campaign by national government so as not to embarrass the ANC in front of G20 delegates when they arrive. Can you explain to the residents of Johannesburg why the state of their city suddenly matters to national government when the world is watching, but not when they have languished without water, electricity, and basic service delivery for the past decade?
Order, Honorable President.
Honorable Speaker, we are going to have visitors, and let us all be united in making sure that we welcome our visitors.
Good question. Why are you able to fix Joburg when visitors are coming so that you increase your status in the world, but you're never able to fix it for the people who live in Joburg? So with the G20 summit coming close and Mr. Ramaphosa suddenly knowing how to fix a city on the G20 routes, well, President Trump threw a bombshell.
As I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places. For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told them I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there.
So 2 days later, President Trump posted a truth. It is a total disgrace that the G20 will be held in South Africa. Afrikaners are being killed and slaughtered, and their land and farms are being illegally confiscated. No US government official will attend as long as these human rights abuses continue. I look forward to hosting the 2026 G20 in Miami, Florida. And so, my biblical reaction. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Where envy and self-seeking, selfish ambition exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Let's talk about envy. You know, most South Africans, and I'm sorry to say, but most African countries, confuse jealousy and envy. Listen, I am jealous about my country. So what does that mean? I want to see it flourish. I want to see it prosper. Many people confuse that with envying other countries. Most South Africans think that they are envy against America, which I will say it, there's more to America than that they've had slavery or colonized others before. That's the voice of envy. When you envy someone, you pretend you don't see any of the things that cause the envy. America is the largest economy in the world. A good trade relation with America could cut our unemployment down. But a person who lives in envy and not jealous about their country. See, the person who's jealous about his country, here's what they're concerned about in everything. They're concerned about those 30% of people who are unemployed. They are still unemployed. Over the time that Deputy President Ramaphosa under Zuma, right up until today as president, almost 20 years in government, no jobs. Crime has continued to be a mess. Jobs have continued to be a mess. The economy has continued to be a mess. The justice system, we're realizing, is a crime scene. But here's the thing. People who are not jealous about their own country, even as they watch this video, they want to spend all their time trying to show how bad Trump is because you envy him. You are watching this phone either on an iPhone or Android. You are watching this on YouTube. All of that is America. Black leaders live American lives. They drive BMWs from Germany. And this is how you know envy. A person who envies you will only try bring up what's negative about you and pretend they don't see your successes. And so the politics of envy are such that 15 years of back and forth I've shown you with America, no one can just come to their senses and figure out a way to make it work so that we don't have half of the people in the Northwest unemployed, half of the people in the Eastern Cape unemployed. But here's what envy will say. Envy will pretend that when you and I unite, because we are jealous of the West, they have more money than you, their cities are safer than yours, you have the highest murder rate in the world, you have the highest unemployment in the world, they are better than us. But envy will hate that and have us pretend we're doing something. This is another sign of envy. A sign of envy is a person who talks bad about you all the time, but they don't just get a clean cut from you and a clean break. They still want to be in your presence all the time. They still want to have a goer. They still want to be around you because it's envy. And unfortunately, the politics of envy, the politics of comrades, get a lot of South Africans because we think they are jealous about our country. No, When you are jealous about your country, you want what's good for it. Look at this. It's envy and self-seeking. The country can collapse over 15 years, they do nothing. When it's self-seeking, selfish ambition, they quickly fix the G20 so that Ramaphosa can finish his term saying, I looked good on the world stage in the clean streets with no potholes where the whole world saw me, while potholes are growing everywhere else. We keep throwing jabs at America. For what? Oh, because they are colonizers. They are also rich. Don't let the envy take you over, because here's the thing about envy. Envy will have a person agree to have their cousins murdered at hospitals, agree to have their own family members unemployed on Nyaupe, and they just want to talk about how the whites colonized somebody. You are envious of them. How about instead of that, you become jealous about your country and start thinking about these matters in this way. I am jealous about South Africa. I want South Africa working. Let's talk about Donald Trump. My only concern is, how do you have a conversation that has South Africa to prosper? Oh no, but we go with BRICS. Where's the prosperity? If that was a project built out of jealousy for our country, we would have seen the prosperity. Where are the jobs from China? Where are the jobs from Russia? Where are the jobs from India? See, it's politics of envy. A person who envies you will make friends with anybody that they think you won't like, because it's not that they want South Africa to rise. They pray every day and night like witches for America to fall. But then you ask the question, when America has fallen, will we prosper? No, they're not thinking about South Africa. So please, don't confuse envy against others as jealousy for you. Start voting for your own prosperity instead of voting against those you envy. And I'll poke you once again. The West is more prosperous than us. At this rate, every country in the world is safer than ours. Every country in the world has a better employment than us. This is what envy has been doing over the last 15 years. No jobs, no safety, yet big mouths. Doesn't work. That's why I always say no man can serve two masters, because either you love the one and hate the other, or you'll despise the one and honor the other. You cannot serve God and Karl Marx, because one says be jealous about your country and be willing to do whatever it takes for it to get better. The other says we want equality, which is a code for I envy the one who has more, and therefore I'm no longer focusing on getting better because I want to bring them down to my level. That's the only time I'll be happy. Every country that goes with politics of envy, crime rises, the economy flops, people lose jobs. It's always a mess. So, choose correctly. The Marxism that the comrades are leading us on is taking us nowhere but big mouths with no money, no safety, no pride, produce nothing in 30 years, because when you should be jealous about your country, you are envious for people who are doing better than us. Let's stop envying them. Let America get richer more if they want. Let China get richer more if they want. It doesn't matter. What matters for us is, does South Africa get richer? Our economy hasn't grown since 2008. Envy is killing us.